There are many tactics a defense attorney has at her or his disposal in order to try and win a case. Sometimes winning isn't the main option. It's merely trying to keep a client from being put to death. Counter that with someone seeking to face the American judicial system that is already well aware of that possibility. Let's dig into the cases capturing America's attention at the moment. Legal analyst from the law offices of O'Brien and Ryan LLP in Philadelphia, Heather Hansen joins us. Good to see you again, Heather.
Hi, Ed. Good to see you. Let's
start right out with the Tsarnaev case, the Boston Marathon bombing case. It was a shock, I think everybody knows this, when the defense came out and basically admitted it. But is it not fair to say that that is simply they're trying to make sure that he doesn't get put to death?
That's right. And they had to do that to keep credibility with the jury. They want to make sure that the jury believes them. So if they start trying to say that he didn't do it when we all know that he did, that would have been a problem for them to then build credibility when it comes to trying to argue for his life. So they took that chance, they admitted it, and now they're going to try throughout the course of both the liability phase, the guilt phase, and the sentencing phase to try to mitigate the damages, make him look sympathetic so that hopefully they can get some holdouts and not have him be put to death.
I've seen some stories, too, that they are looking at the wife of his now deceased brother and perhaps trying to find out what connection she had to maybe purchasing the pressure cookers. And now out of Boston, I'm hearing some friends talk about investigations to find out again how deep a lot of these tentacles run from the terrorists. Is that something that you want to keep out of the trial at this point because it may muddy the waters?
Absolutely, and I think it will stay far out of this trial, but I think it's a very, very important point and something that we should and will see in the future. There's been a real question as to whether or not these brothers did this by themselves. The type of bomb that this was and the way that it was detonated, it would be extremely, extremely far-fetched to think that these two gentlemen could have done that by themselves. And in fact, there had been some motions going back and forth in this case where the prosecution had actually argued that they thought that there was someone else involved. They have since backed off of that argument, but I do think as you see the investigation into Tamerlane's wife that you will see that perhaps there are some other issues that we don't know yet about.
Couple of minutes, let's turn to the other trial, or I should say perhaps proposed trial, because Edward Snowden wants to come home, and he's saying basically that he's not getting what he wants. His lawyers don't hear coming back to them that he could get a fair trial, and they demand a fair trial. Absolutely absurd, is it not?
It is absolutely absurd. I mean, of course, we in America give fair trials, and if you don't think you've had a fair trial, you have the opportunity to appeal. That's part of the due process that we give to all of our citizens. What he really wants, Ed, is he wants the Espionage Act charges to be off the table, because under the Espionage Act, the defenses of public interest, that he did what he did in the public interest, is not a viable defense. And so therefore, he knows that he has no defense and can't put forward the case that he wants to. And so when all this talk about a fair trial is really a push for the government to withdraw those charges and pursue other charges against him, it is not going to happen. President Obama has got... I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. I was going to say, isn't it also the point that, I got about a minute left here, but he wants to get in front of a jury. He wants to be able to tell his story, and he wants to basically use this as his propaganda, yes?
Yes, and he believes that there are enough people who feel like what he told us was to our benefit, that perhaps there will be some sympathy there and he could actually get off.
Now, do you think that the United States will cut any sort of a deal here, or would it be your first inclination that they will look at him and say, traitor, come home, that's it, no deal?
President Obama has pursued 7 different Espionage Act cases since he became president. Before that, in our entire history, there were only 3. President Obama's administration is not going to give him a deal in this case.
And if they did give him a deal, the American people would probably, at least a good portion of them, would go rather unhappy, if you will. Although there are some people who, for some reason, still seem to think this guy is a hero, which is really kind of frightening indeed. But that's just the way trials go. All right, we'll continue to watch the Boston Marathon bombing trial. We'll watch Edward Snowden and so much more. And when we have more legal, we are getting you right back in here, snow or no snow. Heather Hansen, thanks so much for joining us again. There you go. Stay warm. Good luck getting through the snow. Again, I feel like I say that to you every time we talk for the last 6 months, is how do you get through the snow?
You do, believe me.
There you go. All right, Heather, thanks so much. Take care. Third hour Thursday up on MidPoint, a police department run amok. Cops who believe they're being made criminals. And what has to be the future of American law enforcement? We will talk to those involved at the ground level of keeping people safe and find out where we go after the decision in Ferguson. That's coming up right here on MidPoint.